Considering how quickly the world is growing and how diverse the progress is in essentially every important aspect of life, we can expect there to be differences between generations. Some things, however, seem to be quite common in every generation. One of these is that the teenage period is usually the time when we explore the world and ourselves. Insights that young people can reach in this way can sometimes stick with them for their entire lives. While this may sound as if we are referring to a group of positive memories, we should mention that not all of these insights have to be positive or point us toward constructive and favorable behavior. Instead, just a few wrongly interpreted experiences could leave us feeling quite entitled and full of ourselves. Today, we will review a list of videos that will show us how some of these entitled teens get what they deserve once they mess with the wrong cops.
How do I get out of jail tonight? Because I fucking don't live here. My parents are gonna beat the shit out of me.
Number 1. A group of teens teasing cops.
I know you're talking to you.
The assumption in this case was that being a minor makes it impossible for cops to arrest you. As we will soon see, this isn't true at all. And no one is out of reach when it comes to the law. This case happened in 2021. The cops have received multiple complaints that a group of people is causing a lot of noise near a local Taco Bell. Moving out to check what is happening in this parking lot, they find a group of teens who believe it is okay to disrupt a peaceful night by playing loud music from their car and hanging around. While a warning is usually enough to get the music turned off and disperse the group, these particular teens felt this didn't apply to them. Naturally, the officers approached the group in a polite and calm manner, avoiding causing everyone unnecessary trouble. However, as we will see, since this group couldn't be reasoned with, things escalated. The entitled teens in this video have proceeded to test the cops' patience in various ways. Besides ignoring the cops and proceeding to play loud music, they showed disrespect by refusing to identify themselves. One of the teens even has a mask and dances defiantly right in the cops' faces. Of course, this couldn't be tolerated, and the officers proceeded to detain him. Only then does the rest of the group start interacting with the police, and they act quite violently.
Stay back down. Yes, I will go invasion. Stay back down. Get back. Get back down.
Don't put your hands on him like that.
Get back.
That's what I'm
It's
saying right
curfew.
A move that they will learn can get you in a world of trouble. Taking control of the situation, the officer shows them how serious things are by pulling out a taser gun. One of them started filming by phone, hoping this would scare the cops. As expected, this doesn't work at all. Still, the group keeps arguing and shouting at the cop. We can see the rude, entitled teen constantly getting in the cop's face as he keeps repeating that they can't detain their friend, who is a minor, because he doesn't have an ID. This is, of course, entirely wrong, which the cops explained multiple times. Since the aggressive teen didn't want to give up, the cops proceeded to detain him as well. Riled up by the situation, one of the teens even takes a swing at an officer and gets to know the consequences. Seeing as nothing else could be done, the officer uses a taser as a means to an end. This was a final statement that showed these entitled teens that being a minor doesn't make you invincible in the face of the law. It appears that the rest of them have heard the message loudly and clearly as they take it down a notch and adjust their behavior to reality. Since they didn't just cause a commotion but also a lot of trouble for the officers, the group was taken into custody. Some of the charges included resisting arrest and obstructing official police business. Number 2. Teen thought she could curse at cops without consequence. The previous video showed us that, regardless of being a teen, you can get in a lot of trouble if you disrespect the cops. Similar to the previous case, this one also becomes more troublesome than it had to be. What made it worse was this girl's behavior. This event happened in 2023, and it took us to another parking lot, this time one near a Walmart. What made the cops suspicious was that they noticed a reckless driver in the street. Keeping an eye on the car, they heard tires squealing and saw the driver was drifting. Then, the cops decided to intervene before this person caused a tragedy. Since they couldn't know what kind of person was behind the wheel, the cops approached the situation with utmost seriousness. They parked behind the car and asked the driver to turn it off and get out. Considering how dangerous the person had driven, they wanted to ensure he wasn't armed. This is why they immediately asked the driver to show his hands and hold them up. As they were in the middle of this, the front passenger door opened, causing tension. Since the officers are trying to do their best and stay ahead of trouble, they ask the person to get back in the car. The driver is asked to walk back to where the police can clearly see him. Proceeding with caution, the next step for cops was getting the cuffs on the suspect. They told the person to get on the ground and put him under arrest. Once they have safely placed the driver in the back seat of the police car, the cops turn their attention to the other passenger. As we will discover, this is where another kind of trouble begins. One of these concerns an entitled teen feeling that she can do as she pleases, even in this shaky situation.
Walmart, the light was shut off. We're trying to go home as fast as possible.
We heard you.
Relax. We have no arms. We know our laws. We have no arms.
Officers approached the other person and learned that it was the driver's girlfriend. After being asked for ID, she tells the cops that she doesn't have it since they live nearby. Even in this very brief interaction, we can foresee that the girl wouldn't make this easy for the cops. As the cop was trying to establish if the girl was aware of what was happening, she started repeatedly and hysterically telling the cop to let her speak.
You don't understand what's going on? You can't drive like that.
Let me speak.
Okay, speak.
Let me speak.
Keeping his cool, the cop gives her space to do so, and she tells the story that she and her boyfriend were just in a hurry to get home from Walmart. She then tells the cop to back off and relax, as neither she nor her boyfriend has done anything wrong. The cop reminds her that they were pulled over because of reckless driving, but she denies this and keeps saying that the police can't keep her boyfriend since they have done nothing wrong. The cops kept asking for her ID, but this led nowhere as this teen was getting increasingly rude, and her words didn't make much sense. The topics moved from threats to call a lawyer to saying she and her boyfriend had faced racial issues before they sat in the car.
Because we just had a situation at Walmart with racial issues and we're not going to do it again.
Okay, well,
I know my rights. He didn't need to do that.
At the same time, cops decided to check in with the driver and see whether he understood the situation. He didn't appear to have a much better attitude than his girlfriend. Even as the cops described exactly how recklessly the suspect was driving and mentioned details such as the car's speed and that the headlights were off, he kept denying it. He agitated with the cops, screaming at them and claiming they are mistreating her boyfriend. Similarly to the previous video, this teen resorts to pulling out her phone and starts recording what's going on. The cops reassured her that there was body cam footage that would also show whether the procedures were followed fairly and in accordance with the situation. Almost like she was determined to make matters worse, the girl kept screaming and, at one point, started pushing the cops away from the car. This was the last straw, and the cops proceeded to take her into custody as well. As they are putting handcuffs on her, she keeps cursing heavily and even mentioning racism again. Because of the incident, the driver was charged with reckless driving. His girlfriend has added resisting an officer to the list of charges they were facing. Number 3. Teens learn the hard way why you should listen to cops' instructions.
Disorderly. You do that again, you're going. Get in the car. You're both warned.
In the next case, which happened in 2023, a similar thing occurred when the police were called about a conflict. The commotion apparently started once 2 kids had gotten into a fight, but it all got worse once the angry cousins got involved. As the police show up on the scene, right in front of them, there is a confrontation between 3 women. One of them appears to be the one who has made the call, and two girls that we see walking up to the cop are being quite aggressive and confrontational, disregarding the presence of an officer of law. Entirely acting as if the cop wasn't in front of them, the two women proceed to argue with the woman who has called the police. Seeing that things could escalate, the officer tells the two women to move away and go wait in their car, or they would get arrested. Instead of listening, they continue arguing with the officer, and one of the women slams the car door right next to him. Even though things were getting heated, we saw that the officer kept his distance and tried to maintain control using only a verbal approach. However, after seeing how aggressive this entitled teen is, we can realize this wasn't an easy task at all. Even after they are told to get in the car multiple times, these two girls don't comply, and one of them firmly confirms why she's on this list by saying she will call her daddy. Since they didn't seem to get the message, the officer pulled out cuffs, but not even this visual cue was enough for them to back away. After exerting every possible option, the cop proceeds to detain one of the girls. Seeming as they have made up their mind to make things worse for themselves, both girls get into a physical confrontation with the cop, trying to avoid being arrested. Another entitled teen move that, throughout this list we will come across many times, is one of the girls who has picked up a phone to record everything. However, as we can see, instead of helping her case, it just further shows that the cop had to do exactly what he had done. After he finally managed to put cuffs on one of them and put the other in the car, backup came around, and the one who was in the vehicle was arrested immediately as well. We could also mention that a lot of frantic screaming and unreasonable accusations followed everything that has happened until now. Even after they were both arrested and there was evidence that the girl had hit the police officer right in the chin, they negated this had happened. After trying to lie so plainly, they both proceed to kick the cops as they are restraining them in the car. Since officers didn't get a chance to hear the whole story from the woman who had called the cops, now that the two women were cuffed and placed securely in a police vehicle, they continued the conversation. The woman explains that she believes that the child who has gotten into a fight with her son must have been their nephew, hence all the aggression and confrontational attitude. Once the officers got back to the two arrested women, they seemed to have calmed down, and from their own perspective, they confirmed a similar story. But they probably skipped mentioning a lot of emotional outbursts from their side, which we have had a chance to witness. Calming the situation down, the officer who got punched in the face tells the girls that he believes their hearts are in the right place for wanting to protect their nephew, but what they have done and the way they have behaved is entirely wrong. Even though these two girls clearly get quite humbled, the police officer doesn't want to make this lesson bitter. After he has taken the girls to the station, we see him offering an olive branch even though they have exhibited quite unhinged behavior before. Nevertheless, such actions can't be tolerated, and they were both charged with disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. Number 4. A teen tries to run from cops and makes things worse. This next case happened in 2021. Since Oktoberfest was ongoing, the police made the bike patrols more frequent to ensure nothing ruined the fun. In one of these runs, officers encountered a young man who showed suspicious behavior when he detected them coming near. What the cops noticed was that he had tried to hide an alcohol can in his pocket. Even though we may think, why would that be suspicious, especially during an Oktoberfest? The reflex to hide the alcohol caused officers to have doubts. As we will later see, their hunch was correct, as this person is a minor. When they asked him to provide an ID, he claimed that his wallet had been stolen, trying to lie his way out of the situation. The police officer then warned him that they would have to search him and that finding a wallet on him could lead to additional consequences. Since he must have realized that nothing good will come if he treats the cops as idiots, the teen pulls out the alcoholic beverage he has previously tucked away in his pocket. On the other hand, This could have been an attempt to divert their attention from the wallet and ID.
Herschel. H-E-R-S-C-H-L-E-B.
Suspecting that this must be the case, the officer asks the man how old he is, and he claims to be 21. To sound more convincing, he even said the date of his birthday, making sure to point out the year of his birth. After warning the man that lying would result in consequences and observing his reluctance to cooperate, the officers proceeded to record his information and run it by their colleagues. Even though the cop could have suspected that the man was deceitful, he didn't provoke him and kept writing the name that the man spelled out. As soon as the cop turned around, wanting to check the details, the man tried to flee, but didn't get far. Both officers' immediate and express reaction was sufficient to cut this chase short. They pin the escapee on the ground and proceed to put cuffs on him. He briefly struggles, but can't do much about his predicament. Support from other cops soon came, and a transportation vehicle was called in. Similar to the first two cases we examined, this entitled teen has made the situation worse for himself. The cops explained to him that his unnecessary lying and unwise escape attempt earned him a trip to jail.
Bro, come on. Y'all are being aggressive with me, taking me around anywhere. I didn't do anything.
Yeah, well, now you're going to jail.
DC.
If he wasn't trying to act smart, he could have received just a ticket instead. This guy, however, doesn't seem to want to snap out of it. Even as he is waiting to go to jail, he denies that he attempted to escape. Only after the cops have spelled out that his actions are enough to put him in jail does this entitled teen drop the act, and we see him panicking and asking what he can do for himself now.
Disorderly conduct, resisting arrest.
3,000 kids here with beers, and you catch me? Come on. How do I get out of jail tonight? Because I fucking don't live here. My parents are gonna beat the shit out of me. Like, how do I get out of jail?
It'll be explained.
We have seen this teen move from trying to lie to the cop's face to asking about a way to get out of jail as soon as possible. Imagine how rough of a reality check this must have been. Number 5. An intoxicated teen tries to trick cops. We have already seen a case where a teen has tried to trick cops. In this next video, an entitled teen attempted to do the same thing while on drugs. What's worse is that this drunk girl has been driving and putting others' lives in danger. To depict how unhinged her behavior in the traffic was, we can mention that a witness later confirmed her car was twirling and occasionally moved in the wrong lane, even though she was heading straight toward vehicles coming from the opposite direction. A huge red flag was that she appeared unfazed even though she was driving so dangerously. Luckily, police officers were nearby. After seeing what was going on, they decided to put a stop to it. After pulling the girl over, the cops tried to inspect what was happening and understand the driver. She tells them that she was doing errands and going for groceries. Hilariously, she even calls it doing adult things. It took just a second before she got confused and lost in her lies. When asked where she was going or where she was coming from, she told a different plan, saying that she was getting to a friend. Even from the way that she talked and how she bounced from subject to subject, the police officers had a suspicion that the girl may be under the influence, and this was the reason for all the near-collision incidents that she caused along the way. Not losing this thought in mind, the officers keep asking her questions about any substances that could cause this behavior. They inquire whether she has a prescription for anything similar to Xanax, which the girl denies. It seems she was so intoxicated that she didn't even realize that the pills were out in the open, placed right in the front seat of her car. After picking these up, the officer asks the woman where her ID is. Despite telling her not to move, the girl jumps towards the car to allegedly grab the ID from her purse, but this out-of-the-blue behavior can't be tolerated, and she gets pulled back and placed against the car. Being an entitled teen, the girl immediately shows an attitude. She even tries using excuses, such as the police don't have the right to go through her stuff, which is entirely wrong, especially considering there were Xanax pills found in her car, which points out that she was driving under the influence.
Where's your ID at? Was it in here?
Can I look for my wallet? Well, like, why are you looking for my wallet? No, the thing is, that's my property. You have no choice.
Since such a suspicion had arisen, officers had to look through the girl's car and ask her to step away so they could proceed. Instead of doing that, she acts wise, asking why this is happening to her, and she receives a clear and long explanation of everything that preceded this situation. After the police had inspected the car, they found evidence that there were a lot of marks showing she had been hitting stuff. Trying to lie her way out of this, the girl tries making excuses, and the police officers patiently just listen to all the obvious lies.
That was missing. No clue how it was missing. It was missing.
The girl was then asked if she would participate in a sobriety test. She apparently thought that she could act sober and get out of this mess. But in just a moment, she learns this isn't possible in her state. Trying to walk the line, she almost fell multiple times, so the cops put cuffs on her and pursued this case further. During the inspection, the girl kept being rude to the female officer and didn't listen to the instructions to stop resisting.
Where's your license?
I'm looking for retro harassment. Ooh.
This inspection was the last move before putting the woman in a car and taking her to jail. However, not even this could go easily. Instead, the entitled teen thought it was okay to try kicking the officers as they were putting her in the car. This girl didn't want to give in even during the transportation, and the police officer had to stop the car and restrain her before he was able to move on. This sort of behavior has earned this entitled teen 2 years probation for driving under the influence and possession of harmful drugs. Number 6. Teen tries ignoring the cops. This one is definitely something else. What makes this case that happened in 2022 special is that a teen in it has tried to ignore cops completely. And is there a more hilarious way to deal with reality than to bury your head in the sand? Cops decided to pull over a driver who was seen driving much faster than was allowed in the zone. After they had pulled over this car, they saw the driver speaking on the phone. Even as he opens his window slightly, he keeps ignoring them and talking on the phone. We see that the cop isn't going to take this kind of behavior and opens the door, trying to get this entitled teen's attention.
Stop. Give me your driver's license registration.
Hold on, officer, please.
I'm going to give you one more chance.
Cody, they're
Two-door fire. Give me a channel.
Give
me one more
I don't
chance.
have my license on me, officer.
All right. Step out of the car.
Stop unbuckling my...
Step out of the car.
This young person doesn't seem to understand his situation at all. Since they have given him enough opportunities to start behaving, the cops proceed to pin him down and cuff him. All the while, this teen is screaming and resisting arrest. After they asked him to identify himself and tell them how old he was, the suspect kept telling them not to worry about it.
How old are you? Don't worry about it.
I need to worry about it. How old are you?
Don't worry about it. Haley! Don't worry about it.
Lift your leg up one more time. Stop.
Watch your groin.
Yeah, I got it.
How old are you? I'm not gonna hurt you. How old are you? Don't worry. We don't want to hurt.
Even though he was clearly being a brat, the cops kept asking questions politely, trying to figure things out. This teen keeps saying he needs to talk to his uncle the whole time. Since it appears that he was on the call with his uncle when he tried to ignore the cops, they realize this man must be quite concerned by now, not knowing what is going on. After they had managed to talk some sense to the driver, they notified his uncle of what was going down. The entitled teen was charged with resisting an officer and, unsurprisingly, with a DUI, which at least in part could explain this unhinged behavior. Now that we have reached the end of this list, we wanted to thank you for following along through the various cases we have examined. We hope you have enjoyed seeing how justice is being served, even when entitled teens feel they are above the law.